The mystery of the man who simply disappeared. August 12, 2019. People are still looking for Brian Shaffer, an Ohio student who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The mystery of the man who simply disappeared left Brian Shaffer, right, the South Campus Gateway Complex, with Ugly Tuna Saloon on the second floor. Source: the most peculiar thing about his disappearance is that in a moment he was surrounded by people, and then, before anyone could understand what had happened, he suddenly disappeared. He entered a building and never left it. Everyone searched for Brian, but he wasn't anywhere. It was as if he simply disappeared into thin air. How can we explain his bizarre disappearance? Those who favor conspiracy theories suggest that he was abducted by aliens. Others think he may have accidentally entered an invisible world, another dimension. Of course, there are also many who simply think that poor Brian was murdered or deliberately decided to disappear. We just don't know what happened, but one thing is certain: Brian's credit cards, bank account, and cell phone haven't been used since the day he disappeared. Born February 25, 1979, Brian Randall Shaffer was a young man with a promising future ahead. At the time of his disappearance, he was in his second year of medical school at Ohio State University, where he had already completed his undergraduate degree in microbiology. On March 31, 2006, when Brian was 27 years old, he went with his friend William Lynn Florence to Ugly Tuna to celebrate the beginning of spring break. It had been a stressful week of exams and the students wanted to relax. Although he handled the emotional situation well, he was still dealing with his mother's recent death. Shortly after midnight, the two men met Meredith, a friend of Florence. Meredith: the presence of the three was recorded on security cameras. The mystery of the man who simply disappeared. 1. Brian, Clinton Meredith climbing the escalator. Brian is in front, leaning on the railing. Brian, Florence and Meredith were seen climbing the escalator to the now-closed bar at the university portal around 1 a.m. on April 1. The security camera also recorded when Brian was out of the bar talking to two women around 1:50. Then he entered the bar again and was separated from his friends. Unfortunately, there were no surveillance cameras inside the bar, so it is not known what Brian did when he was inside the bar again. Later, Florence and Meredith wanted to leave and started calling Brian, but got no answer. They searched for him inside the bar but couldn't find him, so they decided to wait outside. After a while, the two left, assuming Brian had gone home. However, Brian never returned home. The next day, Alexis, his girlfriend, called him several times, but all she heard was voicemail. Alexis was a little nervous because the couple planned to go to Miami the next day. When she got no response from him, she hoped he was waiting at the airport on Monday, but Brian didn't show up. Brian was later declared missing and has not been seen since the day he disappeared. Investigators scoured the surrounding area and examined various possibilities for how Brian could have left the building unseen. The mystery of the man who simply disappeared. 2. Brian stepped off the escalator, followed by Clinton Meredith. That would have been difficult because Ugly Tuna had an entrance at the top of the escalator. If Brian had left the building, it should have been filmed by the security camera, but it wasn't. Investigators said the camera may not have been able to film it, but it is unlikely to have happened. Another possibility is that Brian left Ugly Tuna but disguised himself as someone else, or maybe Brian accidentally died inside the bar. The bar staff was worried about lawsuits, so they used the emergency exit to get rid of their body. As 614 Now reports, here was just one other way that Brian could have left the bar that night, and it was through a back door. Not only was it a door used exclusively by staff members, but it also opened to a building site that would pose a dangerous situation for a sober person, not to mention someone who had drunk all night. Could Brian have faked his death to start a new life? Anything is possible, of course, but if he did, his reason would be known only to him. Brian had excellent university grades, a good relationship with his girlfriend, Alexis, and he made many plans for the future. The mystery of the man who simply disappeared. 3. Reward up to $100,000 for anyone with any information that solves the case. Ugly Tuna Saloon was closed in April 2018, and Brian Shaffer's disappearance remains unsolved.